For insurance purposes, they have
Right.
to give me honest, right?
Especially with Jan, you know. That's the real trouble, right there.
Everybody tells me that. That's so nice. I'm helpful.
I just want to see a couple of folks, Deborah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what they used to say about Janice till they got to know her. They're like, Janice is so sweet. And they're like, "Say what? I don't know what
Trimming.
I see why you buy them.
Only depending on who you guys.
How do you say your name?
T.I.
No, not spell, say.
Sorry.
What is silent? What is, what?
Discus. Like discus with a T. One of my teachers said, it was a reminder device said, protect TXC by QZ while you're sleeping, it makes my cuss US. That's how she remembered this from my name.
Well, there you go. Whatever works.
Whatever works.
Where are you from?
I am from Weatherford, in Parker County. Right next to
What SD is that?
10.
10. Hi,
You go through there on the way to Possum Kingdom.
I'm a Possum Kingdom.
Stop and spend some tax dollars for us if you want. On the way.
Quiet.
All that ambient noise.
You know what? Some of these doors are locked
I know.
from the out, like.
And this one does lock from the outside.
Well, dang it.
That's a good thing.
We need more people in here to help warm the room up.
Yes.
It is rather chilly in this morning. Temperatures right on top of us.
Oh, and this is not carpet or that.
Over here, if you have left, I'm not right.
Yeah. It was great about the roof, but we're not gonna be able to close it.
You can prop something in it so you close it mostly, but we have to.
Does it have a thing at the bottom? Does it have a leg?
It won't catch here, it has to be owned. So you may do the chair thing. And if you when camera.
Dan, what SD are you?
9.
9?
All in Tarrant County.
Okay.
I'm like, what?
Yeah, we used to have some of 9 in Dallas County.
Huh?
We used to have some of 9 in Dallas County.
Yeah.
Y'all and brought SB12 into a lot of it.
Yeah, Tarrant County now is represented by 5 SDs. 9, 12, 22, and 23.
I share Ellis County with 22. They're still not real happy. They were always the whole county and now they're split. I tried to tell them, look, now you've got 2 big senators.
We see until there's 3 districts this last December. I was in 10.
I run
And
twice.
10 was Cousin in Tarrant County, had been for like 30 years. So all of a sudden, I was elected on Warren Ward's replacement for 10 in December of last year. 2 weeks later, when they redistricted me out, they cut my city in half. They were, and I went to 9 and everybody else stayed 10. So from mid-December until the convention, I was the SD rep for 10. But, you know, the convention still been 9.
Yeah.
And in 9, Steve Outwell, he had terminated it out.
Okay, so you
So
wanted
that's
9.
why, that's how I got 9. So, because he was really developing, you know, like, what are we gonna do? Because he was transitioning out, it's like, who's gonna replace him? And then all of a sudden, he voted.
So who's 10?
Matt.
That's Matt. Yeah. Yes, Matt's 10.
Yeah, Susan Wright, we reached out to try to find, and Matt got him on the place.
Oh, Susan.
Bigger blanket.
Oh.
Some share with me.
Alright, I'm back.
What's crazy is I'm not used to it. I'm never cold. And yesterday I saw Russell from Big Bend.
Oh, really?
And then this one's cold.
This room is cold. I don't know why it's so cold.
Yes, sir. You're saying.
Well, about 4 years ago, these roofs were stuck because the AC didn't work very well.
Well, it works now.
Old memories or what?
That, their total reverse what they did, they've done, it's a massive improvement from what it was.
Yeah,
It
last time I was
stone.
here, it was.
I mean, it was musty,
Yeah, I
I
remember
mean, the
that.
carpet almost missed in places.
Yep, I remember that.
It's like, really? I mean, and the rooms were like They're pretty good trailer.
The hotel room?
Yeah, the rooms themselves.
I've never said
I
that.
put the word out when I decided to run for SREC, I asked them to
Yes,
split a
the
bit.
first one.
Oh, that's why I haven't been in that yet.
Thanks. Oh, it's okay.
I'm not ready to
What would you do without Bruce?
At least they have one in all the travel and sales thing around the state.
I used to, I
We
came
did
on
that like 20 years ago.
years, that's when I came in. And so there was a lot of women and a lot of, it seems like running around. And then I got off St. Louis, the same reason.
Total trouble.
Especially when we had.
Back in the session, wedding, we did the Texas Road Show to Beaumont, El Paso. Yeah.
And served on a couple of spots. I've been around a lot, man. I've been.
El Paso. And you guys are keeping going. Don't live out there.
Troy's gonna have to, a lot of times on this, I am on the state. Like they, Janice, state commission, judicial. We went out until the late, and they all started that as SREC, board.
There are.
Where's our guys out there?
That are school.
Oh, they had you double booked them. See, that's why you need to go get on.
Oh, that's right, I think he is.
Yeah, he's there.
They're having
Training.
I've never been to a convention.
We're missing a couple of folks, but I think we have enough already to go ahead and get started. For those of you who know me, I'm Morgan Brown, especially if you're on the signal thread. I apologize.
Which one?
Which one exactly? I'm the one that keeps
You're
the,
not on all the threads.
yeah, the one with the exclamation point, the announcement one. That's the one that I generally admin and ensure that when we have subcommittee meetings, Zoom meetings, things like that, to put those reminders on there, provided that somebody has taken the time to remind them. I'm gonna ask Janice to do that. So,
I remember that.
definitely. Now, we may have a couple members who are double booked with different subcommittees. I know Jan is also on CRC, who's meeting right now, and a couple of others. I've asked Janice Holt to go ahead and take our minutes and take notes, because I have a feeling that we're going to get a lot of good ideas. This is, of course, the first time we've had a candidate development meeting. And the way that this came about was when I, Sean Chevin, and a couple of other folks served on the long-term planning. Exactly.
I'll just have to knock on the door.
Yes.
Do we need to roll call to
Yeah.
see?
I'm hoping that the two other ladies.
Yes, I'm double booked and my husband just is telling the other people that I'm,
Yes.
yeah.
I had a feeling that was going to happen with a couple. And, well, we know that Jen and Deborah are around in the hallway. But the way this committee came about was during the long-term planning and development special committee. And one of the things that I suggested was, along with another member, was to have candidate trainings, things like, what they need to do with the ethics commission or their local elections administrator or town clerk, depending on where you are. Basically, putting all that information in one place, because there is no single spot of resources for many first-time candidates, and sadly, we have SRECs and county chairs who can't know it all back and forward, and candidates have said more than once, where do I go to find all this information? And so we're going to be brainstorming to begin with, because we get to set the precedent for what this committee is going to do and how. So Janice, I would love for you to conduct that roll call.
Okay. Okay, Morgan, obviously, Bruce Bishop,
He's here.
where is he?
On the wrong side of you. Rules committee, I'd be over here.
Dan, I know, right, there's Dan over here, Matt, over here, and Elaine.
Here,
And Elaine, what SD are you?
23.
Thank you. And Deborah is outside, Janice, can you make in, what's your SD? 14. And Dale?
Here,
Your SD?
13.
13, okay, so we're only missing Deborah, and now that she's here, she's just out there talking.
When she comes in, I'm gonna tease her and say punctuality is a virtue. Even though I unfortunately have my own punctuality issues sometimes. Show of hands, how many of us, with the exception of county and precinct chair, the exception of party offices, have been candidates in the past? Oh, great. Wow, that's helpful. That's helpful. Because nobody can actually give you an idea as to what it's like to be a candidate unless you're the candidate. They have that term, what is it, victory has 1,000 fathers, but defeat is an orphan.
Yeah.
And as a county chair, one of the toughest parts of the job is when candidates lose, and you have to give them that call. And, you know, so you all have a very special perspective, especially when it comes to the fact that at some point you have to be a first-time candidate. What office did you run for?
Member to the council.
Nonpartisan?
And I'm a current school board member, but I ran last primary for state representative.
So you've done both the partisan and nonpartisan.
I'm on city council.
So,
I ran for JP,
so also partisan.
made a runoff and then lost. Rough.
It's hard.
One of the things that setting the precedent for what this committee is going to do is figuring out the scope in terms of what offices to recruit for. I know that part of the description included a focus on areas and races that have voted Democrat and or lacked Republican candidates on ballot. It does not specify if we have to just stick to partisan office. And we're finding more and more the importance of establishing those foundational races, your school board, your city council, things at that level, because later on, once they build a base, we're going to need them to run for partisan office. Otherwise, we have no ground from which to recruit. Exactly. And for those of us who are in blue areas, like myself, I'm from Cameron, so you can't go any further south in our state, we end up having some sort of vacuum when it comes to recruiting partisan candidates. I'm going to also single somebody out back there, Judge Gastos, who's a former SREC. He is running for county judge. He's the only Republican to win countywide office in our county 3 times in a row.
Awesome.
And it's only been done by Tony Garza twice. And of course, he's our former Secretary of State as well. And has taught me everything I do know when it comes to what it is candidates go through, winning and losing, and what works. So to start with, I'd like to hear y'all's input on what the scope looks like to you in terms of identifying candidates and recruiting for specific roles. Do you think it should include things like school board, municipal positions, nonpartisan? Any thoughts?
I think it should include all of it. There's a level below those candidates that we need to talk to the candidates about and even recruit from. And that's in every county, every city, and all, they have boards and commissions that are appointed. That is the base of where people get their feet wet, they get to understand a little more about it from the backside, and they're much better candidates, they're accepted by the community a little bit better, and that's where the Democrats have been playing people for years. And they're way ahead of the game of what the Republicans are. That's why it's very difficult just to take a Republican straight out and go for an elected office and then wonder why they don't win. Well, the other person won because he's had all this connection over time, street cred, whether it's on planning, zoning, you know, whatever it is. But there are tons of those appointed officials who don't spend enough time and energy behind the scenes making sure, because every time we put a conservative in there, it's one less spot for a liberal to get their foot in.
You know, a lot of the cities are begging for people to fill those.
Fill those
open
slots.
positions. We could get good conservatives appointed.
You know, in every county, you've got all these precinct chairs, if they're not on an appointed board of commission, something's wrong. Because it allows them a visibility behind the scenes of what's good, what's bad, and who can make it, who can't. What are the qualifications you need for somebody to potentially do that? Because it's a personality issue that happens within a lot of those fields.
Not long ago, a couple of presidential ago, it became a very big talking point that Jimmy Carter's first elected position was library board.
One of the things that I established, I'm also county chair in Cameron, and I've been the county chair since 2015. And one of the things that I finally got around to doing is establishing a local government committee. And why? Well, part of it is building the foundation, but also as a county chair, I can't keep track of every single school district, every town council, everything that they're doing all at once, who's raising what and how. And I realized that if I form this committee and have my precinct chairs representing different areas, or also including conservatives who serve in some of these positions, they can compile that information. And it's easier to keep track of what we need to target or not, or who may be a viable option in the future. So would you say that it would be a practical initiative to guide county chairs in establishing something like that within their counties?
I think that's a nice idea, but I think that there are a lot of county chairs that are
They won't have the time.
not even making deadlines. There's just too. I heard yesterday that of all the county chairs, this year we're ahead of last year. We have 27 that have filed some paperwork that was supposed to be in some period of time ago.
The bylaw.
But last year, in the last 2 years, since they were last, only 24 in 2 years. So this year, we have 27, which is better than the last 2 years combined. So I think asking them perhaps to create an ad hoc committee and giving the committee ownership. One of the things we are not good at doing is giving people ownership, right? Nobody's given, this is your task, we expect you to do it without somebody sitting there with a whip and or a federal rule.
So we need to figure out a way to recruit candidates to various positions, to be able to also identify them, especially the nonpartisan candidates. So there are a couple different ways we can go about it. Another is to divide the state up into regions. I believe the way the chairman appointed us, we cover different regions of the state. If we divvy those up, we might be able to find grassroots activists or volunteers who can help us compile that information and put together like a dossier for some of these positions. I mean, it's gonna be impossible for us to cover all 254 counties. And how many school districts would you say there were in Texas?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
I was thinking it's like 1,700, but yeah. I know
So,
what
you know,
Voting
obviously
city
that's,
councils,
yes.
we're getting up
How
there.
many, how well attended are the county chair meetings? Like the ones that will last maybe a month?
You know, that's a good question. I was just put back on the TRCCA board, and it's always been kind of hit and miss. I cover the South Texas region, so Nueces all the way west and all the way south. And some of our largest counties don't show. Hidalgo, I've never seen represented there, Cameron, of course, because I have to be there. But we also have some counties that didn't have active chairs for the longest time, or didn't even have CECs. And I'm sure that some of our SDs have that situation unless it's a very red area, am I right? So, but you're right,
I was just
maybe the
curious
county chair is not,
because
that's
if-
mechanism.
the reason I was thinking of that mechanism there, if this body here comes up with some concepts with it, is that would be, to me, a great segue to go present it to them as to what we're thinking and see how we can repolish it either based upon, large urban areas versus rural areas. Because that's totally different
Right.
thinking and personalities with how things operate.
And that's a good plan, because one of the things we absolutely need to make sure we don't do is step on any county chair's toes and offend anybody. We don't,
Right, just
we
let them straight
don't
up.
need to cause any rifts by accident. If we cause them, they need to be on
Because if
purpose,
they already have a program going themselves,
right?
great, how can we latch on to it and make sure that we're still compatible with it? Cheer them on, give them pointers,
Or
whatever.
how can we use that across the state if they have?
Yeah, learn their best practices and
Yeah, so,
Observation.
stop trying to reinvent the wheel if possible,
Exactly.
if somebody's already done a lot of that work.
can someone clarify something for me? A little off topic, but the difference between this committee and local government committee.
Matt and I are both on.
Right. I'm sitting here trying to differentiate between.
Right.
Just sounded the same.
From the last meeting, it sounds like we're deciding who to endorse.
Is to articulate how we're going to do that. If it's just coming up with best practices for our county chairs and precinct chairs or local Republicans to use to target, that's completely feasible.
No, I think that's what this really is.
Yes,
Is the
that's an
mechanism,
option as well.
the backbone to help a candidate if they do elect to run.
Right.
A one-stop source to, okay, all the way
And
to
part of
the
it-
TEC filings, how they didn't get a treasurer and all that stuff that they have
Exactly,
to do.
but we
to-
have a very broad scope, which is identify, recruit, and train. So that's a year round,
And it's
This is a
focused though on
year-round.
races that have voted Democrat and
Or
lack
black
Republican.
Republican candidates.
Okay.
Now, if you're in areas where your school district is filled with just a bunch of liberal folks, as an example, one that we're starting to have more of a focus on. But yes, establishing best practices and working well with county chairs, like you said, would be a great start. In terms of identifying unopposed partisan races, that's something that's fairly easy to do through the Secretary of State's office. Identifying those that are done in the primary. I know my county has a number of them, where that is the election for a number of positions. And so that part is fairly easy to figure out which races do not have any sort of opposition, compiling a list of that and learning a little bit more about those areas and what we can do to provide support to those chairs in identifying folks. And so that one, I think we can.
You're talking about partisan in that case, right?
Yes.
You're talking about partisan.
Yes, the last part of our description, the focus on areas and races that have voted Democrat or lacked Republican candidates. The lacking Republican candidates and Democrats winning, those are gonna be easy for us to pull together. In fact, I'm sure those lists already exist. I'm gonna find those, because we have several organizations that compile that information routinely. So,
So we're not gonna be focusing more on the non-partisan races. I mean, we can, I understand that, but to me, that seems like what the local government committee would be doing.
yes.
I mean, I don't think we need to be both doing the same thing.
But,
or-
yeah, that's, I just wanna make sure we're
And you
not.
two
There's
are on
some
that.
parts that
right?
are.
Yeah.
There are some parts that overlap though, in
Yeah.
terms of the financial filing
And Deborah's on
election
that,
law, and campaign finance law and things like
I
that.
think there's also an area that I don't think we ever touch, and that is to have an honest conversation with a potential person that's gonna run for office. The impact it's gonna have on them
And their family.
and their families.
And it's also different, I'm in a small county, you know, or as opposed to Harris County or Tarrant County, or, you know, there's a lot of things that I hear coming down from, you know, state that have nothing to do with where we are. I mean, so it's hard to apply those, but you're so right, whoever said it about how it affects,
Affects the
That when
person
you
and the
run,
family.
that's right, things that you don't realize. I mean, I thought I knew a lot of stuff, and then I ran for state rep, and I found out a lot of stuff I didn't know.
You know, I gotta learn how to deal with death threats.
And I'm still taking
While they are.
donations, by the way, to pay off my election campaign. Donate to that.
One of the things that, I had started a statewide PAC, the Texas Republican Initiative, and one of the things that we did was this Mission Red 22 thing, where we had a candidate training, and it was also available on Zoom, and we had candidates from different parts of the state who did tune in. I had an attorney go over the campaign finance law, and also things such as disclosures, the disclaimers, you know, all of those particulars.
Little language is the bottom of your campaign sign.
All the basics, because there, if you look, even if you go to, the Secretary of State's website, it is awful to navigate that. And I'm speaking to somebody who's used it for years, many times.
Well, and all of that applies partisan and nonpartisan.
Exactly.
You know, we still have, as a school board or a city council, you still have to follow those rules, but I don't know the size of your city. Where do you live?
What if they're 35,000?
Okay, so that's fairly large, you know, we're 6,000, you know, and so those things, those rules tend to kind of, you you know, go away. Nobody, even when they're violated, nobody says anything.
Well, and you know, it's also really good to know them because oftentimes your opponents are following them.
That's-
And you can definitely give some folks some headaches. In our area, one of the good things about having our party's general counsel is he has fun looking for violations.
Mhm.
And he's pretty good at that, yeah.
Mhm.
And so it's definitely helping in our congressional race. He's found some pretty serious violations and Project Red Text is helping us publicize them. And so, yeah, things like that, those best practices. And when we go to the Stay Pretty website, having some sort of hub, a one-stop shop to be able to break down all of these things and maybe compile presentations and things that we put together.
Especially if we could do it to where we say, if you wanna run for a congressional seat, here's a checklist that you better be. If you want a nonpartisan rate, whether it's city councilor or county commissioner or whatever, these are the things you're gonna need to look for.
Commissioner's partisan.
Yeah.
Right. But I think you hit on something that's really important, and that maybe we can do that will make a lot of people more comfortable making the decision. And that's have a checklist. What kinds of things should we go over?
And even if it's,
Like a candidate toolkit.
Yes,
yeah, just about it, if you're interested that way, and whether the county person, whether they say, go to the state website, go right there, and go down what you need to, it'll line it out, or it'll give you a link, like directly over to the piece of the Secretary of State that you need to look at.
I like the idea of having it in our
RPT.
Like
Website.
it's in
On our
the
website.
portal. Like it's in the
Yes.
portal. And one of the things that I defined is, that was successful about the interactive portion, since some folks are not very good at the self-led stuff or going through the heaps of literature, is when you have a training that's available on Zoom, covering those sections, because it allows them to ask questions and interact. Oftentimes, one candidate's question ends up being several candidates' questions. And so that's also something I was thinking would be to the committee's liking.
Well, another thing I just thought of, if we did it with the RPT side, another thing that might be helpful to this is if we can get and do basically a little YouTube thing from an existing rep or whatever, somebody that's held that office somewhere, as to speaking to what you're getting ready to find out in that deal and look at.
I would do that, and then have links to that.
Because you put a human with it, and then it starts to make a little more relevance to them.
Exactly.
maybe some things to do as kind of a preview of whether you're ready, you know?
So
Because,
you think you want to run for office?
right,
Is that about right?
Are you an idiot? Or,
Yeah.
in city councils and stuff, the Texas, what is the state organization for all the city council members?
You know?
Yeah, Texas Municipal League. They have a training for newbies. And they start out with the lawyers, and the law, at least they're in Tarrant County, they say, you all are the stupidest people in the world to ever be an elected official. You have no idea how you just put yourself in legal jeopardy. And they start going through some of the things, people don't realize, like as an actual elected official, you lose a lot of your First Amendment rights. You can't always speak the way you would really like to, because you can become liable because of all the laws that exist. You have to be very cognizant of where you're at with your fellow council members. You just can't meet 3 or 4 of them at one time at coffee or whatever. You just violated the Open Meetings Act.
Oh, yes, we.
So, I mean, there's a lot of things like that, it's just like, there's many people that don't even know about that stuff,
And,
until all of a sudden it just happens to them.
yeah, and those best practices, do's and don'ts. One of the things that I've always asked is what makes you still run for chair and do this stuff? Why are you doing it? I call it a mixture of masochism and patriotism. And maybe too much caffeine.
And a whole lot of caffeine.
Whole lot
I
of
just find it
caffeine.
entertaining, so I mean, when the entertainment comes away, then I leave.
There's that too. So it sounds like we're all on board for the idea of having a one-stop, resource on the website, hub, the video ideas, the Zoom or remote trainings, you know, periodically, and we can get into more specifics, such as how often to do it. I think that one of the best things to also do is follow, like I do with many trainings, is follow the election calendar. You know, starting some months before the filing period, start to get those shares, those best practices, and we can probably get support from TRCCA in deploying that. I'm sure David County, anything that assists county chairs resource-wise is very much appreciated. We're used to getting deadlines and responsibilities, but resources are much harder to come by. And also, one thing that now, especially in our area, with all of these organizations coming in to flip the Valley red and being really loud about it, so the Democrats are, you know, starting to pay attention, which is not good, is having a list of resources that candidates can apply for. You know, we have CRC. Many candidates don't know that. In fact, in my area, our candidates didn't receive anything from CRC until I became SRC. My predecessor, who was also county chair, would not promote it because he felt it was too much paperwork or too little work. And you'll find that there are many areas where county chairs kind of block that access. And so being able to have that available to them and let that candidate make that decision, or knowing that they can, if they're running for certain offices, contact ART, contact, conservatives and these different groups. So that might also be part of the resource center that we have.
You mean funding sources for a candidate,
Yeah,
PACs, whatever?
yes,
clubs?
because some of them will cover federal, some of them will cover state and below, some of them focus on the legislature. The ART, for example, is very legislator driven, not local. And then you have Project Red Text that focuses on the local offices. They've been wonderful. Especially in our county, they've been great.
And they just need to know that, you know, until you're past that primary, some of that stuff's not even available, you know.
Yep.
Yeah, so you're out there on your own. So
Exactly.
I'd just like to say again,
Well,
if you want to
that-
donate to a candidate,
I've written it up out of my own back pocket, trust me,
yeah.
you know. And that's what a lot of people don't realize, how much of it,
Only
as an
$200,000.
individual, is gonna come out of your back pocket if you can't raise money. If you're, like, a lot of people, when they get into it, they have a hard time asking somebody for money, with no guarantee that it's gonna pay off for them. And, it's a mind shift that you have to be willing to do.
It is.
If you're
It-
serious.
And that's part of the training we ought to be able to offer in this, because
You be honest with them, straight up front, because you don't want to get too far into where all of a sudden they quit in the middle of it because of it. And there's nobody else that can fill in to, you know, maybe take that slot and go forward with it.
it's like asking somebody to pray for you because you have an issue. Those caregivers have a hard time admitting that we also have needs. But at the same time, you just keep standing right between, between us. Sounds like he's looking, I see a corner of him, sorry. A very wise, oh, that's you, I'm like, my phone's off. A very wise woman once told me, she said, whenever you deny somebody the opportunity to pray for you or to give you something, you are denying them the personal blessing they would get when they did it and the growth that happens with that. And so you have to have this paradigm shift that's just a little bit. I would love your vote, I would love your voice, and I need money. You know, I need your vote, I need your voice, I need money. I can't win without all three of those things. And if you think I'd be a good candidate or I'd be a good elected whatever, then please support me in whatever way you can. And if you just do that tiny paradigm shift, it changes everything. People in Dallas County and some in Tarrant County know I've been asking for money for a long time, so, you know.
It's tough.
You mentioned something, that paradigm shift.
Mhm. And we all need to do that, it's a tiny paradigm shift, but we've got a candidate running to replace Eddie Bernice Johnson. He's a wonderful candidate, he also has a brand new baby that was born after the primaries. So he has a 2.5-year-old and a brand new baby. Well, his commitments are and a father that's in and out of the emergency room. So his priorities are a little mixed, so people that are working, I shouldn't say mixed, they're a little, less focused, and there are people who are working for him who are incredibly frustrated because he can't show up for whatever it is they want to show up for. But at the same time, we live in the real world, each one of us lives in the real world, and whatever that real world is, we need to have surrogates to go out on our behalf, because Mack trucks happen.
So how do we narrow this? Cause I feel like we got a lot of big picture things. How do we narrow
Right,
this?
so
45 minutes in.
getting it back down to, the trainings themselves, of course, you have campaign finance law. We can get something that's fairly black and white to put together, election focused stuff, how to build a team, best practices, resource for county chairs prior to the filing period. Now, we don't want to duplicate efforts, of course. We know that there are lots of organizations that focus on recruiting House district and Senate candidates. So we know that those are fairly covered, but the part where we as a party struggle is usually the county-wide and precinct level offices.
Well, it seems like we have, we have all of this stuff that a group over here is doing something, a group over there is doing something else, it's all good stuff, But RPT doesn't have a clearinghouse for all of that stuff, and so I think that needs to be our focus of
Troy
pulling
Jackson.
that all in.
If we could set up
Yeah.
the framework for all these pieces, here's the state level,
Yes.
local, down the road, and then start filling in the pieces to it, because it's almost like a big matrix, because you have, here's all these, listen to these slots, and then you have a funding source, legal forms to fill out, other stuff that needs to be looked at,
Right, and
across the line. And some applies to somebody at a county level, but it doesn't apply
right,
to a
if you're,
local level.
if you're a Republican and you want to run for X office, whether it's partisan, nonpartisan, whatever, they need to know through the county chairs, the local people, that, hey, RPT's website has everything you need,
At least the
to,
framework.
that's
for
right,
everything you need.
that you can go, and then you can be directed whichever focused direction you're wanting to go, whether
And
it's
in
local
some
or
cases, we'll be
nonpartisan.
creating content, and in some cases routing. So that's a very
Right.
simple website map,
Mhm.
in terms of going to the website, having a portal. You have the breakdown would be the next link is what type of office, clicking on that,
Mhm.
and then, or resource type, and then that information would fall there.
But another good thing about it, if we can do something like that, if we can get the county chairs or their executive director or whatever, if somebody comes and say, hey, I'm kind of interested in this, where can I get more information? It's not only directed to us, tell them, have them, they go look at it, then come back to me as a county chair or an executive director, and let's have a conversation about what you just learned.
And
Or
even,
even that
and
step.
then another breakdown that I was gonna talk about was TFRW is always wanting to recruit women candidates.
Yes.
We're focused on
Yeah.
women, and so, you could even have a thread that direction of, of getting, more women involved in public.
And having those partnerships will also help us in the areas where we may not have county chair coverage, but we do have a well-developed infrastructure in some of the women's or other auxiliaries, which is great partnerships. Another thing that when it comes to the resource part, I keep thinking from a candidate-centric point of view, finding things is redundancy. We know that a lot of this information is available, it's in so many different places, even on our own website, and having that redundancy where they can go to that one-stop place, and some of it's going to route them to things that are already existing as opposed to new content.
As
So,
many places as we can find that, we're better off.
Couple of pet peeves. One, if you're thinking about running for office, meet your precinct chair and your county chair before you go file.
yes, thank you, because I've had times where I'll have a municipal candidate, upset with me, because they didn't get support from the party, and I'm just introducing myself, and I have no idea who they were, because there was never that reaching out. And you're absolutely right, that's a good place to start.
You have to start by making sure you're not stepping on toes. We talked earlier about not stepping on toes. The candidate candidates need to stop, make sure they don't start out making,
More enemies than
yeah,
friends.
not
Or
even enemies, but
or
obstructions.
missed opportunities, there's the
Yes.
opportunity cost that
Yes.
comes with it as well.
Right, because like we, in the committee that was just before you, we had 9 people running for 5 offices, and I think 8 of them would be theirs to make those decisions before it became November 8th. There was never that opportunity, and only one of them was the precinct chair. So, we had to do that. My other pet elevator speech, the 30-second speech that gives you permission to talk longer. 30 seconds. Time yourself. Look in the mirror, record it, time yourself. 30 seconds.
And there's a point of saturation also, when it comes to when to throw more money into a particular aspect of a campaign. That's something Carlos would probably be better at laying out when it comes to, when you all are a certain number of points behind in your polling and have to decide whether or not you've reached the point of saturation in funding or fee, for example, as opposed to when it's a good idea to pour more into a certain thing when it's within reach.
And the question is,
Yeah, you would know that. It wasn't his question, sir.
oh, I don't,
I was letting you know what you're gonna be
I'm
explaining.
not a big believer in polls. Poll is a snapshot at that moment in time, and a lot of things change. I, as one that never, gone, and I'm gonna focus monies on here. I've run 8 races and won 6, and I've never really followed polls. But I wanna go back to your comment about the planning and zoning. I think that's a good point. But keep in mind that all those boards and commissions that you're referring to are appointed by the elected person.
Yes.
Okay, so that elected person, that's where it's gotta start in terms of bringing in I don't like to use conservative or liberal, but, somebody that looks at our overall politics and philosophy and values, et cetera, right? So before they get appointed to those positions, so I don't
They need to
disagree.
go make friends, even if it's a Democrat, to me, it doesn't matter.
Exactly,
They've gotta go make friends on a nonpartisan basis, that they're part of that community, they wanna help the community.
right,
That's the avenue, that's the grease that gets you into those slots.
right, but it starts at the elected nonpartisan
Yeah,
position.
sure does.
And not, I'd love to go.
Even
planning
county
and zoning.
commissioners appoint tons of
Yeah,
boards and stuff that it needs to be set up.
yeah, because a lot of times
We need
getting
to focus
appointed to those boards are really not, you can't control that, and then who was elected, so I go back to trying to nurture ISDs, city councils and all that. And I think that the biggest argument that we have with people is that you're willing to vote for a person on a school board or city council, say, well, it's nonpartisan, I can do that. But those philosophies don't change from the time they get elected to that position. And then they run for a partisan office. Those values don't change, it is what it is. But I have found, and we have found a lot of people justify voting for that person because it's a nonpartisan race,
Right.
even though they know that the person is a Democrat.
Yeah.
Gotta make sure.
So you're right, because we are behind everybody else, at least in Cameron.
It's clear across.
That being said, how would you all feel about us putting together a survey, since we know who the candidates are in our area, we know who the first time ones are, to find out what it is that they were surprised by becoming a candidate that they did not expect, or what they would have appreciated in terms of a resource besides money. We all know money is gonna be on there, but, get that feedback from them. I know some of us here are candidates, but we're mentioning the difference between, or having candidates, the difference between rural and more urban areas, and it may help us get a good read, because again, we're not a homogeneous state, and even between urban and rural, we also have regional differences. In my area, we have some pro-life and pro-gun Democrats who are open to voting for a Republican, and it does happen.
Yes, as long as it doesn't start till after November 10th.
So,
And it should be surprises. What surprised you financially? What surprised you in terms of time? What surprised you in terms of people? What surprised you in terms of,
what you'd like more of and what you'd like less of.
And it also makes a difference if you're running against an incumbent versus an open race too as well, that's a big deal.
How to choose the right race.
How do you get that money? I mean, even like for myself and my city, if we had a long-term mayor, anybody that challenged him, you're gonna spend $10,000 just to even have a chance.
Another one
And-
I'm so sorry.
And the other side to it is even as they come to us as a precinct chair trying to get help and stuff like that. I mean, at one time I had 4,900 voters in my precinct. Well, think about what that's like to send out mailers to those people there, the expense associated with that. And with a precinct chair, it all comes out of your own back pocket, unless you can recruit somebody else to help you with it.
SRAC costs money.
Yeah, SRC's a $5,000 a year tag alone, I mean, you know, it's out of your own back pocket. so-
And how to put together a campaign budget and goals is something that I noticed a lot of candidates do struggle with unless they have a consultant on hand. Yes.
When, you know, the first time that I ran against an incumbent, and nobody wants to give you money, right?
No.
So you have to go out and, I mean, unfortunately, you've gotta have the resources to fund your own campaign.
That's right, you
You
gotta
know,
make
and
your
you go down to the
investments.
bank and they give you whatever number it is. My first race, I had to put in like 25 grand, and this was back in 1990, okay? I was able to go in and get the money back. But I think when you go to folks asking for money, the first question I ask, well, how much have you put in? And if you're not willing to put in, invest in your own campaign, how can you ask other people to invest in your campaign?
Exactly.
So, you know, so you're gonna have to have, I'm not saying deep pockets, but you know, 10,000, you're gonna have some seed money to put in, because mailers are gonna run you $4,000 or $5,000 for, you know, a couple of thousand people.
And different races in different areas cost a different amount.
Sure.
In that projection, one of the things that I go to him for is asking, how much do you think it would cost to win this race? Or a candidate, first-time candidate out of the blue versus
Yeah, most-
who already has name.
I have a lot of folks who will come and say, like, running for school board, how much it's gonna cost? Easy, 35 grand. You know, city council, I know city council members spend 150,000 for a non-paying city race.
Yeah.
Like,
And see,
what are
it
you
costs,
thinking, you know?
it only costs me $100 to run for school board the first time, so it depends, that's why it's so widely,
Yeah.
you know, different, and
And
that's
so
just for
we-
yard signs, really.
Exactly, how to gauge what your particular one, what to take into account when formulating how much to have a budget, your fundraising goals, different ways to fundraise. So there's so much involved. Luckily, we have some of you who have run for office. Coming from the county chair side, I can think of a number of things I wish I had to, you know, hand a candidate or direct them toward. And, you know, even coming up with, believe it or not, when it comes to candidate training and everything, having a resource on hand with your county parties listing locations, commercial locations where they are open to candidates planting their signs. I cannot tell you how hard it is. It's like pulling teeth with some that is finding out. You have to kind of drive around and see whose signs are where and figure out those and try to compile that list. But all those things we know as particulars. So to start off, who wants to assist me in putting together a survey for candidates?
Yeah, that after, obviously. Yes.
Okay. And so also, how often do we as a committee want to meet? Who wants to be that guy right now and throw out a number?
Quarterly at minimum.
Quarterly.
Yeah, considering, you know,
You're so
considering we have some
imaginative.
pretty- we have some pretty heavy goals, one of which is going to be website construction and resources, that's something I'm comfortable with. Who's really good at organizing? I need somebody who's very good at being, at organizational skills.
You mean as far as what
In
potential?
terms of, if I
The
provide an
framework.
outline, being able to help me figure out what resources already exist, so that we can route there. That's throw that one in.
We can
I
all
can-
kind
I
of
can-
start with that.
I can do the matrix framework for
Yeah.
that, that's pretty
Okay,
easy.
so that's something we can probably hash out during
Guess I need
the
to write this down.
Yeah.
Maybe to
So
start
Elaine's
with,
gonna help with the survey, and he's
survey.
gonna help with the matrix, and you're gonna help with, what did you just say you're gonna help with? The organization, did you just say you were gonna?
I just said we could all,
Everything.
we could all talk about where these resources,
Yes.
because I may know something somebody else doesn't know, or vice versa.
that's true, and especially if you're heavily involved in the TFRW, which definitely helps. She'll know also some of the resources that are there where we can avoid duplicating efforts.
There is a resources for campaigns
Mhm.
on the website. When I click on it though, it doesn't.
Well, some of
It
it
doesn't-
doesn't, I
Yeah.
clicked on a lot of this stuff, and some of it is
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
old
Yes,
stuff.
very old,
Yes.
and we have not been updated.
Yeah, so it just needs to be
Well, and that's
refreshed.
potentially another thing that we need to keep in the back of mind, how do we go back and keep this thing relevant and fresh too?
Mhm.
Because if it gets old, like a lot of that stuff you see, they just blow it off, but it's no
Uh-huh.
good. And they may be one click away from really a gold piece of nugget that they need to know, but they're never gonna get there because they've already
Mhm.
shut down.
right.
So, you keep it, you know,
To begin with, since we're in the middle of elections, an election season, it might be a good idea at least to start with bi-weekly Zoom. And I'm sure that's what a lot of other committees are also doing. But in our case, this is when we actually, we have tighter deadlines now because things are ongoing. And especially when at least we're not also dealing with the recruiting and identifying part, but we are going to be looking at the training part. You know, there are candidates who ran unopposed during the primary, and so now they're dealing with having to figure things out, needing to know what to do 30 days before a race as opposed to 90, and things of that nature.
do we need to get into where we look at what, qualities that, or abilities that certain level of elected officials need to have?
That will definitely help, and that's something we need to do. But in terms of the time frame right now and the part of the election cycle
More of
we're
the
in.
technical side of it now, and then go to more of the personality side of it as a next phase.
Right, we're kind of in the phase of,
That way,
we have candidates right now who need immediate resources in terms of.
So you're talking about doing something now for November,
CRC,
yeah, and then maybe after the election, then broadening it
That's
out
done.
for people looking to run and.
Exactly, because targeting is, you know, unfortunately, our election
there's
cycles
nothing
don't always seem like.
with whatever this committee's doing right now, will have no effect on the November. Just, we can't help that.
But the information gathering part.
We can gather the information, but it doesn't mean anything as far as helping someone right now, because you can't get a piece of the website built and all the other stuff like that.
Yeah, but it's getting the information from the people who
But-
are.
Well, it's not
Right.
hard to throw a couple of links into a portal, linking
Sure.
them to the Secretary of State site, the TEC. Those very basic things are available, and a calendar. We don't have a candidates calendar. As a county chair, one of the most frustrating things is trying to get an election law calendar that only applies to candidates. In terms of because otherwise you just have a rule saying this many days before election day, you have to file that. It's really nice to
Well,
have
what
a
is that
simple
day?
reference.
Yeah.
Exactly, what is that day?
Yeah.
So CRC can't give money?
No, CRC already met
Oh,
this cycle, they met.
And
Yeah.
it's just, and it's just little things like the 30 days before
Yeah.
election, to sign up to vote, well, it's not really 30 days,
So
because it's a
immediate-
holiday,
I guess
and, you know.
immediate needs would be just having that portal with that information, that's simple, it's already established, it's already available elsewhere. And just putting that together, but also the survey, because things that they're experiencing currently are going to probably be a lot more fresh in their minds as opposed to after they've either been dragged through the dirt in November or they've been victorious. Our perspectives change based upon, the outcome as opposed to what it is.
District when you lost, and it's the most humbling and depressing, and,
Our Democrats refuse to do it in cities and
yeah,
counties.
go around
where
4
they take
counties
all
trying to pick up signs, and they need help for that too, you know, go help these people who lost, go help them, and
I
Have
pick-
established those.
I pick some of the, I pick some of the
Yeah.
losers up all the time, because I use them in woodworking for patterns.
Well, and I even did that. I even said, hey, y'all can have all this, I don't care.
The former force is great.
Not unless I make a million or
those
something.
posts for later.
Yeah, the T-post.
Because everybody's always needing those.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes.
I've got more of the
Next time.
wire sign things, the whole signs, I mean, you can imagine.
I donated a couple thousand of them, several boxes of them.
So how are you going to, what kind of calendar are you going, are you gonna do like an interactive click on this, click on a clickable calendar, or just a list of dates?
Maybe a very simple,
Mhm,
like
for now.
straightforward, actual
Calendar
calendar.
that says in October 11th is the last day to register to vote. The 20th is the last day to apply for a mail-in ballot. The 24th
Well,
is the
Candy
first
gets
slide.
all stuff
Or
of
red
when you have to
suggests
turn in your
this
TEC
report.
report, yeah.
Yes,
When those reports,
this report, that report,
yeah,
this
Give a
report,
campaign finance report too.
yes.
yeah, those kind of things are,
Yeah,
I got a notice today for one for a club that I'm treasurer of.
yeah, you may have a report due.
Yeah. That's
You
exactly how
may
it
not,
starts out.
but you may have
You
one.
may have a report due.
and so, yeah, so in terms of, time limits,
Mhm.
that's one of the ones I'm thinking about right now, that's easy to put together,
Mhm.
easy to get posted, easy to direct people to and have sent out to everybody. Jen can definitely help with that. In terms of the website, John Beckmeyer, I know would be the person on that. I'd also need a couple of us to keep in mind, attorneys or legal advisors who have a good sense of election law, because they can also help us formulate that curriculum as we work on that over time, and as we figure out what we're going to do in terms of training. If we're going to have, say, us conducting it in different regions and also having it available by.
We did that a few years ago between the TRCCA, the TFRW and the RPT, because I did part of that training as we, went around, and Donna Davidson did the election stuff, so.
I like Dawn.
Yeah.
She's
But-
great to work with. In fact, I think we need to go, I'm gonna go ahead and put her up again and help. Exactly. Yep. And, drag her back in.
So what do we concretely need to do?
Well, first, let's figure out when we're going to meet and how often. I'm thinking for now, at least while we're breaking into the structure of this bi-weekly by Zoom, figuring out, what day and time to meet. What do they say, the start of the great journey is that first step. So, how many night owls, how many morning people?
I'm not available on Tuesday or Thursday nights. I have commitments. 4 times a month.
Are we
so-
talking white?
Do we have any morning
nighttime
people here?
or morning, I can,
What do you mean by morning?
People who like to have meetings in the
2
morning.
a.m.
No.
At eight or 9 in the morning.
2 a.m. Morgan and I are great.
Yeah, I was supposed to say, are there any disgusting morning people here?
I'm not doing 2 a.m.
I get it.
Right now.
I normally go to bed between midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning. And I get up at 5:30. 4 or 5 hours
Okay,
sleep.
so if we have an 8 o'clock meeting, is that a problem for anybody?
PM?
Or
PM?
PM.
Oh, PM I can do.
Heck,
I was gonna say, hey, I'm just going to bed.
Mhm.
so 7,
7 or 8 PM?
Yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
okay. So weekend, maybe Friday, Saturday, which day works best, Sunday?
Sunday evening. would
I
be
can't do
good.
Sunday, I'm out on Sundays.
Okay.
I have too many church stuff going on
Okay,
Saturday,
That whole, plus we want services at different times. Saturday,
I don't like Saturdays, but-
Yeah, it's-
Friday.
You're not gonna get everybody.
There's never
I know,
gonna be
you're not
enough,
gonna- there's no
but
good
there's
day.
going to be the one that has the most,
What about Monday night?
Just pick Tuesday.
Monday night.
Tuesday.
Monday or Tuesday.
Unfortunately, I have another commitment on Tuesdays.
See,
And
must
also,
love my club.
actually, that
meetings.
was Tuesday at 5, I believe.
Tuesday, 5 and 8.
The first and third Tuesday, why don't you all do the second and fourth?
There we go.
I have my city council is second and fourth
Yeah.
Tuesday.
And I have school board once a month on
And they
Tuesdays.
spend my money, so I go watch.
Mhm.
Well, I have no problem doing it on the same Tuesday as I have the other subcommittee meeting, just stagger it slightly. So Carlos, what time is my other meeting?
I thought they said it was like at 5.
Yeah, on the what Tuesdays?
First and third Tuesday of every month.
Are y'all okay with first and third at
7?
Does city council meet every week?
It depends on the city.
Twice a month.
For
Twice a
us.
month, yeah.
So what days?
I'm second and fourth.
Yeah, I was the second.
Okay,
So that sounds like
first, so first and third at 7 o'clock.
Tuesdays at 7 o'clock.
Perfect.
Okay, so first and third.
You said Tuesdays?
Mhm.
Tuesdays.
And
And
then,
then you're gonna set those Zooms up?
Yes, I already have one of those premium accounts, so we don't have to go and condense things to half an hour and then get kicked out. We're gonna do it too.
Yeah, I have that too.
Yep. And one of the rules that, I believe it's new is regarding making sure that the whole committee is aware of when we have these meetings. And since I'm on that thread, I'll make sure that that reminder is on there. But of course, I may have to have somebody remind me to remind everybody.
As long as it's on every minutes or everything that's
Right.
there, then that's your notice, you know.
And very good.
Yeah, when you send it out, you send it probably, I would say, directly to us and then live copy to the rest of the SRC and be done with it.
Mhm.
So let's, first meeting,
What is the first one?
that's what we're gonna figure out.
Let's find a calendar.
Yeah, it's a calendar for it.
And what I can have ready for then.
So the first would be
So
the fourth, we already have a dot, as one C. Okay, it's just a doctor's appointment. That's good. So October 4th is our first one?
October 4th, yeah.
Are we
just-
recording these?
Yes.
So October
That
4th.
makes it fairly, I guess, simple.
At
Be
7.
helpful if we can't make it.
That's a big one, yes. And so I can make sure to have, a remote link for anybody who needs to go and review the meeting in case they were missing it. So that works, and we can come up with some sort of shared drive for work product and things like that, the whole group effort. And so, yeah, we'll definitely start working on the survey part. It's easy to get from OPT a list of first-time candidates because I believe that initiative existed with several groups, so it'll be fairly easy to, we'll pretty much be scalping other people's info to be able to help us, you know, and I think that would be efficient, so we can get it done in a timely manner and be able to get more information that we need to help us shape, this committee and how we do things. You know, we're probably going to find that there are things that we try that sound good in theory, but maybe not in practice, and learn some things on the way, but, you know, that's the beauty of taking the first step. And I think that we have, a diverse skill set here where we'll be able to be pretty effective in covering different areas and be flexible. So, do we have any other ideas, suggestions, complaints, second thoughts about being on this committee?
Well, I'm holding out cold on that one.
Anybody want to run?
Just a thought on marketing, we're not scalping other ideas, we're increasing the visibility to their existing resources.
Oh, you know, that's a good one, that's a good one.
Yes,
You
it's
do
all about
that.
the paradigm shift. We are making your information more available to the people who
We
need
think
it
your
most.
ideas are wonderful, we're gonna share it all over.
What do they say about redistribution of wealth? Don't think of it as me giving your things to other people, think of it as you helping other people out.
Yeah. And I guess the one thing we do need to be careful of is making sure someone is not selling their information, you know, they're not an official, I mean, that's not their job or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't
So
wanna-
make sure we have permission and
Yeah.
before we link to something, make sure we have permission
Well,
to link.
yeah, because they may have whatever.
It's easier to ask for forgiveness.
Maybe
But it's
sued-
harder
maybe
to
it's
pay
sued.
the attorneys.
That's
How
what all
many
these
of us
problems.
here are first time SRCs, is this your first term?
Define it.
Yeah.
I was here for a few months before I got to this, because I used to be in
If you've been here before, you don't count.
Oh,
Yeah,
Even if
I've
it's
done all
10
kinds of
years.
things at the state level, but it's the first time I've been elected SREC, so.
You know, return folks, there's a certain level of, like I said, masochism, so if you've done it at any point, you know better. So, but that being said, I think that we have a lot to work with, we have the structure, and I think we have pretty much the same idea in terms of what our job looks like, and thank goodness for technology, it will definitely help us provide that.
I think we're all on those, signal groups, so maybe we can have our own little signal group too, that might help us to, is everybody on the signal, what do you think? No, you're not able to?
Yeah, I just got a new phone, man, I installed Signal, I have no groups,
Okay, well,
so I
we'll,
don't know how
Have you
to.
been
well, we'll see if we
invited
can get
yet?
you on
We'll
there.
get you. I recommend the call to action one, the announcement
Yeah.
thread. That's
Yeah,
probably the one that's going to give you
the rest have drama,
Yeah.
but, anyways, the free speech thread has been pretty
It's
drama
free.
But we can set one up for just this committee, so we can, chat a little easier too, and,
And it'll make it a little
Reminders
easier
and
to also post drafts of things
Mhm.
instead of
Yeah.
sending it via email and go, that's the beauty of the group thread. And I give you my word, it will be used efficiently, effectively, and
Oh,
In 20 minutes or less.
exactly, concisely.
That's
You
what
mean
we've
not
heard
the
before.
230 that happened a few weeks ago?
Definitely not. There will be, I think we're all on the same page, there are no debates. So, I think we're there.
I had to let my phone at home, I was out doing other stuff, and I
Oh
came
my
back and
gosh.
it was, well,
I
it
know,
was 230 of them that came across. and it
I know,
was just
I-
One day.
I've had those
Well,
before
I thought
too.
And it
it
was
was
stuff.
Especially if you have
639 in one
I
day.
just
Especially if you have
laughed
6 or 7
and just-
committee members and
really.
everybody's kind of discussing something complex on a chat,
Mhm.
it adds up so fast. It adds up quick.
Especially if you got two complex thoughts going at the
Yes.
same time, okay.
I love the multiple conversations.
I know.
Yeah.
If
So,
anybody has any ideas about questions for the survey for during, to ask the
See, I think
candidates
that would
during.
be, that would be a good place to,
Yes,
put
if you
those
have a good
in.
question for a candidate during the election process, this would be a good time, because that's the first set of questions we're gonna ask, right? During the run.
so what I would like to do, set as a goal, is by October 4th, have at least 10 questions put together. And in the meantime, what we can do is talk to RPT staff about getting that list of first-time candidates. Or, also maybe a survey for those who have been successful candidates in the past who are veteran candidates, because they might have some insight that others don't. And so, let's set October 4th is a good time to have that. I'll go ahead and work on creating the thread today.
yeah, I'm sitting here, doing it.
Oh, excellent.
Thank you. Trying to make sure I have everybody.
Later on down the road,
Yes.
at a more mature point of this,
There will be more.
potentially give county chairs a dialogue of what
Yeah.
That's right.
makes a good person to be a candidate, what makes a person really be a failure as a candidate.
7 members.
So that they can have that conversation with those people as they find them, locally, to have just something in their back pocket that they can talk with, because if they start to become very successful with it, because they use that kind of talking points with someone.
Well, one of my biggest ones, having experienced the other side of this, is your county chair can't make or break your race.
Yes.
Having been blamed for somebody coming in 30,000 votes short, that is something that happens really often. I've gotten calls from first-time county chairs who, after election night, would get a call from all the county chairs in a district, would get a call from the same candidate telling them how they were responsible for their person losing. Yes, and so as a county chair, it can be pretty demoralizing.
Or they do what I call pots and pans bangers. We'll call the county chair and say, it's your reason that, like, Biden won this county instead of Trump. It's just like, folks, you have any understanding of how this thing works? It's amazing.
Yep.
It's amazing what you see as an election judge.
That too. And of course, recruiting poll watchers is another thing that's going to, I know the RNC is in many of our necks of the woods, I don't know about y'all, but they've provided lists of folks, and a number of them have hung up on us, and we're Democrats who can't stand us. So sometimes those lists aren't the most reliable, so we may also figure out, or at least remember to recommend them. They target certain polling places, because there are some that are just more problematic than others. That's always the case. So we'll go ahead and work on that for October 4th, putting together a calendar. Who's running for office currently on anything? Municipal.
I'm ready.
You know what, I'll put Carl Stewart over there, he's unofficially helping put together the calendar with the campaign finance
The
deadlines.
only thing right now is your 30-day report.
I know, but we're having to put together the calendar period, that way it's a one-stop.
Are you on Signal at all?
I'm on Signal.
Okay.
He has Signal.
I have
He's not
Signal.
on
I
it.
have,
I have Signal on my phone.
okay.
He is
So
not in any
you
groups
could
yet.
help him, I couldn't even find your name, so, but you should have an email, whatever. for this.
An app.
X.
Signal message.
Yeah.
X.
Should have something.
And if we can have like a bright red or bright yellow icon, that helps also in
Okay.
locating stuff.
I'll do that.
Thank you. I'm on, those Taking America Back to Texas threads, and there's so many different regional threads that it helps. That's why I put the exclamation point on the announcement thread. It's easy to identify quickly. So I think that we have a good roadmap so far. If y'all can think of questions that would be great for that survey. Thank you, Janice, for creating the thread. That's going to give us a starting point to be able to compile that. We'll work with RPT to get the list of candidates to target. And what I'll do is also work with TRCCA and DFRW, maybe identifying people to disperse it through and create that tree so we can complement each other's efforts. Sound like a plan?
And that needs to be the goal, to complement and amplify the good stuff that's already available.
Or to
And maybe
maybe
even fill in the
consolidate.
blanks.
Yes, and then figure out what is yet to be done, like a nice portal on the website that's up to date.
Well, even as candidates, elected officials that are getting ready to,
With an R?
retire from, you might say,
GRIBBLE.
and they have some people that they would like to have there to, they can go behind the scenes, hey, go
Yeah,
take a
I
look
didn't
at
find
this.
any of those,
and
you know, he put his phone number in, see if that helps.
stuff.
What's your phone number?
Yeah.
713-827-1300.
1302?
00.
Oh.
Because you're not coming in, contact is not a Signal user.
Well,
So I would delete the app and redo it or whatever,
Just because you
download it.
have, you downloaded the app, you have it, you opened it, downloaded it and opened it.
it's open.
Okay, that started.
So we'll get that
So I
figured
think,
out.
I think,
Everybody's on it with him, so we'll get that.
Yeah, just take it.
so I think we got it down, folks. We have a little bit of time to thaw out before the start of the general session.
Right, and
So
it's
you
warmer on that side of the hall, so we don't have to go get our room.
So you have it open now? I mean,
I do.
it shows your name and all?
Well, I name and everything.
All right, let's try again. It's DALE.
Yeah.
All I have is Dale
You
in
said
it.
you just switched phones?
Yeah,
Did you have it on your phone?
I did.
The only Dale I see is in it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do with that.
Yeah.
I haven't used it.
You still have it?
There, he's now, Deltree is now on
I've got
Signal.
some.
Oh, you got that? Oh,
That came up.
maybe I have to get out of this and,
That let me like take a picture on the old
See
phone
if I
and then
can
it just
use the,
shot
put
it
it on.
let
in
me close it and open it up.
for Signal
Yeah.
specifically.
Hmm.
So I'm wondering if you're like set up on like two different phones.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, all I can do is start a group.
Morgan,
Yes,
I put on my phone next Wednesday morning to have the first set of questions to you,
sounds good.
because I'll be booked on Monday. I'm booked till Tuesday meeting, so.
Yeah, he came to one of our local towns, and that's why we were.
Are we sure we don't want to call the group candidate re-education camp?
No.
That's
Well,
not a great idea.
So it's just a little bit communist.
Change the icon to red.
Yeah, change it to red.
Exactly.
I sent him an invitation.
It might mistakenly attract.
See if that came up now.
What did?
We're good.
She just sent you an invitation?
See?
There.
We need to get him on the other threads though too.
Yes, let me go ahead.
Were you on the other threads?
No.
Okay, so,
Are you sure you want?
They
to?
don't.
See, I
I
have
said,
a-
we're bringing this in this pack. All these people are like, yeah, be quiet. It's like, I'm calling out, he's listening to you. He's
713-827-1300.
Yeah.
There you go. Dale, you're gonna.
I render and make it cancel.
Okay,
I decided you to announce it.
okay.
Right.
And.
yeah,
I said it should have started working.
That was me.
you are
I
good.
don't know
There
what.
we
You
go.
have to
You have to accept it though.
Okay, so yeah, you have to accept it. Now we're 9 members. He must have, because it says 9 members now.
I accepted the one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
And then
But
I
for
put
the
you
other
on
ones.
the free speech directive.
Yeah, I just-
Oh, yeah.
Do that again for that one.
Because we just love you and want you in. I don't know.
And now you will get to enjoy the beauty of that thread.
Yeah, you will get hundreds of
All right, so
signatures.
now you can listen to
You
all
have
the
to
little
decide.
drama that we do.
Now, you need to decide whether you want them to notify. you.
Whoa, it's
I
cold.
think everybody
Or
was
you just wanna go there.
I know, it is cold.
Mercy.
Yes.
All right, are we
Where does it
adjourned?
say?
I think we are.
Yeah, I feel sorry for
I'll
you.
type all this up and,
Thank you.
and
Oh, and they'll put together an email list.
Show it, he needs to turn off notifications at least for the next hour, so it doesn't drive us all crazy. And I don't see it.
but like I say, it's been quiet on there.
It has, it's been very quiet.
More.
Yeah, but
Oh,
last night,
everybody will say, welcome, Dana.
Nothing
Yeah.
unifies folks, like
That's what I
maybe
just did.
realizing, maybe realizing that disagreement is something we should protect.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, if we must.
No, I don't agree with that.
Diversity is fun. Yes. And I protect your right to do so, sir, and express it.
Or do you stand trying to turn off notifications?
Yeah.
yeah, you just make a habit, train yourself to go look at them a couple times a day, like
Yeah.
you do your email.
Yeah.
But you don't want it binging at you all day.
Yes.
Trust
Yes,
me.
'cause I don't like-
You'll learn soon
I
enough.
have a friend who's on Telegram.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, she can get like 50 in a minute.
Yeah. What time does our
5:30.
So we have a little less than an hour to
Yeah.
thaw out and get our weapons ready.
Yeah.
We're gonna listen to reports.
Listen to reports and then have an election.
Yeah.
Elections.
Yes.
The officials elections.
Dun, dun, dun.
Check that.
Yes.
No, it's
I know,
just as easy.
somebody brought cookies.
Check it later.
Onions on them.
Yes. I asked 3 people whose opinion I value, who they want,
Yeah.
and there are a couple of people that are on all 3
Elect our
lists,
officials.
Yeah.
but the rest of the people are different. I
Yeah.
just want
Well, I'm running, if that helps.
Or does it help?
I feel good about it. Yeah, I think we'll do good.
Do you think you do, I'm gonna take the trash out,
Something.
because trash offends me.
I need to know to always,
Yeah.
I mean.
So what's your,
Is know with my opinion now, so
Yeah.
when you need things, you know that.
so,
I'm fine with it.
yeah,
Plus,
so what's your background?
Which part?
What qualifies you for officials?
This is my 3rd term on the SRAC. I am the former rules chairman for the RPT for 2 years.
And she walked at it.
I was the national nominations chair. I've worked with
We've
the.
worked, so we've worked
Yeah.
together on
Yeah.
things, because we've met, she's interviewed me and I've interviewed her.
Yeah. And
And the ability to chair a contentious committee
Oh,
and
doing
handle so
national
well,
noms,
she did great.
and we did national noms in 16 hours versus 3 days that usually is, and I made it.
Kenny, how are you? Oh, just fabulous. Hey, I've got a very quick personal question. Do you know Leslie Fitzpatrick, who's running for the third board of Peterson? Okay, well, never mind then. Easy question. Yeah, but, I mean, and the discussion is the amount of money to kick towards that race, and I'm a big advocate thinking that there's others that are much more razor's edge and deserve more money. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, absolutely, but it's gone, it's gone like your court in Dallas. Yeah. Well, politically speaking, it's the same situation, so, I'm not saying, you and I both know more about Dallas, but yeah. Okay, well, that was my question, easy one. Thanks, bye. Bye. It's very personal.